Hey guys, just got done watching 2012's Bloody Homecoming, starring Jim Tavere as the janitor Fred. I don't know why he's on the top. Ray Latt as Mrs. Patterson, Lexi Giovagoli as Lauren Gregory, Alex DeBrenko as Steve Stain, Randy Lemmy as Jacqueline Baker, Brandon Lee Roth as Wade Scott, Taryn C. Varch as Cassie Heron, Elizabeth Bigger as Nora Stanley, Grainey McDermott as Annie Morgan, Jesse Ferreira as Billy Colburn, and Steve Ernest as Principal Patterson. Now, to be honest with you, I watched this on a digital download, and I didn't know what to expect. I saw the cover earlier tonight, and I thought, I'll check it out. Why not? Because it looked interesting. The cover reminded me a lot of the Loved Ones, and I'm sure it's the Loved Ones. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm right. And it reminded me a lot of that. So I thought, I'll give it a go. And Red Vet had a low budget, and it only had a 3.8 star on IMDb. So I thought, you know what? I fancy it. It's a slasher, and some slashers can be really bad, but they can be really, really good at the same time. Well, this movie, to me, is in the middle. Depending on who you are, you're either going to like it, you're going to hate it, or you're going to go, oh, those effects were bad, or the acting's bad. And to be honest, to a certain degree, you'd be right. Because the movie's acting is all over the place. It is a bit terrible, but then it picks up, then it's terrible again. Then it picks up, then it's terrible again. And the kills, they're not new, they're not inventive really, but they happen, you know. And they're good enough. I mean, most of the time when you watch a slasher movie nowadays, there's no real original killings, is there? So, I mean, there is the odd one, but you get what I mean. So anyway, so basically the film starts off where these students want to go into the freshman homecoming dance, but they're not allowed to go in there because apparently the jocks don't want them to, and they're friends with Billy, and Billy is dating Annie, and basically they've been dating for a month, so they decide to have a party of their own in the same building in the gym. I think it's the gym or the drama department. It's in the drama department. And basically, what happens is they're all sitting down laughing, and Billy takes Annie into a room, like a closet room, you know, where you put stuff and then you go in there and get out. And so they're in there. He lights the candle, and goes, "It's been our month anniversary." And he goes, "Oh," and he goes, "I'm the happiest man alive." And all this, and he goes, "Why don't you give it to me?" And all this, and she goes, "I'm not very comfortable doing that right now." And he grabs hold of her and goes, "You give me what I want," and basically tries to rape her. You don't see much of this because he's just put his hands up her dress and that, and Lauren comes in, hits him over the head, and locks him in the room. And then they decide to leave, and little good old Billy is hitting on the door, "Let me out," and he hits with the spirit baton, the school spirit baton they've got. He's like, "Let me out, let me out," and basically in the process he knocks the candle over, the place sets alight, and by the time the principal and that get in there, he falls and he's dead. With a spirit baton in his hands, with the school spirit baton in his hand. So he's sitting there, so 3 years later, basically, they're all doing their own stuff. There's no point talking about that. They're all good friends. They're talking. They're hanging out. They're talking about going to the homecoming. And basically, then there's a death. Annie gets killed. And it's quite interesting because they knock on Annie's door and they want to see if she's there. And she doesn't answer. But then she gets chased by the killer and she goes to open the garage. And the garage stops because he presses the button, I think. The killer presses the button, and she doesn't crawl out fast. She just slowly pulls herself, like if I went like this. When there's a killer behind you, you're gonna be going, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a bit silly, but she got it, And they eventually go there, friends eventually go there, and they go in a place, drink her bows, and basically one of them goes into the garage and puts the light on and gets cold, so she turns the light back off and doesn't see the body. And you sit there going, ooh, yeah. And then there's Nora and her boyfriend, who seem to have sex constantly through the whole movie and are pointless to a big degree. They get killed off, which is quite fun. And then basically you end up with them at the homecoming dance. And one by one they kind of get killed off and all this. I don't want to spoil in case people want to watch it. Get killed off. Well, the kills that is. And basically, there's blood in the scenes. But there's one scene where Nora, she gets it in the eye. And the CGI looks real good. It doesn't look stupid. It looks genuine. And another one where someone gets their slit throat and it actually looks like their throat slit. And the blood is actually like blood colour. Which was cool, I thought. And basically Lauren gets chased and her boyfriend Steve. Well, Steve decides he's going to hide in the bleachers. Yes, he's going to hide in the bleachers to protect himself and protect his girlfriend by distracting the killer, right? So he's in the bleachers, the killer walks by, presses the button and basically stands where he could get out. So good old Steve with his curly hair, which to me was retros of the 80s, he gets crushed by the bleachers. What a great way for him to die. You know, oh, I'm going to hide. I'm going to hide in the one place where I could be trapped and could die because I'm smart. No, I'd have rather hid on the net and pretended I was part of the net and been obvious than going to bleachers. So, basically, the killer then looks for Lauren again, and Lauren's on top of the lockers. How the hell she got up there is, my guess, is anyone's guess. So the killer is right beneath her, and she pulls her shoe off, her high heel shoes, and I'm like, she's going to hit him over the head. And he's got a fireman outfit. Oh yeah, the killer in this movie is dressed up as a firefighter. So basically, you can't see anything, and you're like, wouldn't this firefighter-looking person be obviously recognised on the school grounds and in a school building when there's no fire going on? I was like, ridiculous. So basically, she throws the high heel shoes, and the killer walks off a bit, and it looks up like this, whoa, and grabs hold of Lauren. Then drags her, and then the rest of it reminded me of Happy Birthday to May. If you watch Happy Birthday to May, you'll know what I'm talking about, where she's got the dead bodies around the table, and at the dinner party. It reminded me of that, because the killer had all the dead bodies, and the principal, and Lauren in there, talking to them. So, there is a good scene where you see someone's head down a toilet, which is pretty cool. There is some really good scenes in this movie. I really like it. The principal in it was hilarious because all he kept saying was, he told one of them, I think you're going to be prom queen this year. And she goes, really? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, don't you normally find out at the time? He goes, you're going to find out now. How about we go in my office and celebrate? And you're like, dirty old man. And then there's constant jokes about blowjobs. Like there's this scene where the girl bumps into the janitor and she goes, "Oh, that sucks," and he goes, "Yeah, you'd know a lot about that, sucking." And there's some others like that, and I'm just sitting there going, "Okay," you know. The janitor looks a lot like Michael Berryman. He obviously wasn't, but he looked like him, which I think was supposed to be a 80s throwback thing. And the killer, spoiler alert, you know, proper story, spoiler alert. The killer turns out to be Mrs. Patterson, the principal's wife. And why does she kill them all? Because they took her little Billy away. And I'm sitting there going, was he her son, her illegitimate son, like in Scream, where Mrs. Loomis had left? Nope. She was his lover. I was gobsmacked. She killed because her little Billy got killed from that fire, so she dressed up as a firefighter, used the school spirit baton for every murder practically, which was amazing. He couldn't get through that door, yet she could get through everybody's bodies. And she goes on about how her husband was cheating on her the whole time, and how she met Billy and he was a godsend. He needed home tutoring, and it led to one thing to another, and she was in love with him, and then he met Annie, and Annie was all he talked about, and she was jealous. And then she died, and she wanted to get revenge for him because he was the love of her life. And I'm sitting there going, why the hell would Billy, the jock, get with Annie when Mrs. Patterson, played by Ray, is one hot piece of ass? You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there going, oh, this woman's got great looking knockers. She's got a great looking body. Why would he leave her for a girl who doesn't look even matured enough? She looks like she's 15. And you're just sitting there going, no wonder she cut the girl's head. No wonder she killed the girl and cut her friend's head off. So then she's like pouring this petrol all over, more gasoline, wherever you are. And she's going like this. And you're just laughing because it's like, what are they doing? They're trying to make her look mentally crazy. So she pours it all over, and then she goes, have you got any final words, Lauren? Because Lauren's the only one left in there with the Prime Minister, with the headmaster. Why would I say Prime Minister? So anyway, so she goes, yeah, screw you or something, right? Or what in hell or something like that. Go to hell, I don't know. And her friend Jacqueline goes up behind her, wallop, dollop, right in the eye, knocks her over. Then Mr. Patterson gets stabbed, and then she gets knocked back and stabbed on him like this, and it's gone through both of them, and they're both dead. And you're like, anticlimactic or what? But it was, the film, to be honest with you, the film I thought was really good. I kept reading negative reviews about this film. And I think it's because people don't understand what the film is. Is it bad? I guess you could say that in some aspects. There's films like My Soul to Take, which is bad and should be better because it was in the cinema, and someone like Wes Craven was directing it, and you're really ashamed because you think to yourself, wow, icon. Why is it so bad? You watch a film like this by somebody, let's see who the director is, by Brian C. Weed. Brian C. Weed. I like that. Brian C. Weed. What a name. But you see, you watch a film like this by someone like that, and you don't expect much because they're not a big name. You watch all these people in it, and they're not big names either, so you expect it to be really bad. But when you watch it, it's actually quite a good film. The effects ain't up there to a degree. The acting is not that great. But then, when you look at old 80s movies, if this had been made in the 80s, it probably would have been a classic. I mean, there's some 80s movies which are true classics, which are some of the most horrendous movies you'll ever see in your life. And the only reason the majority of people like them is because of the years, because of when they were made. If you know what I mean. It's like people go, I like the attitude there in wrestling. Everybody says it because everybody knows apparently that was the perfect time of wrestling. So do you see what I mean? So I always say, have an open mind. Watch a film with an open mind. Go in. Don't expect a lot, but expect to have some fun. And then normally the film will be fun for you. So anyway, Bloody Homecoming is to me a really decent film. It's not fantastic. It's not rubbish. It's in the middle. It's good. It's bad. It's in between. Now, I've got a digital download. Will I buy it if I see it cheap? Yes, I will, because I highly enjoyed it and I'd like to support the company behind it. And the director, because, films nowadays are really hard to kind of understand with a lot of people. Because now we have films like Edge of Tomorrow and films with all this CGI, A lot of people expect CGI, they expect all this high budget stuff. But what we need to remember, like I said a bit earlier, was back in the 80s, most of the films which we call classics were made on really, really tiny budgets. I mean, Halloween, for example. Fantastic film, creepy, scary, very low budget. Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, these were on low budgets. You know, and they still were good. But now we expect it, if it's on low budget, to be awful. And we should be looking at a film and thinking, you know, the budget doesn't matter. It's what's used for the budget. Like the effects. The effects are decent. They could have been better. But because they didn't probably have enough money, it couldn't be. Did it make the film worse? No, because I still enjoyed what they did with it. Because the director knew what he was doing. The director was having fun. The director was doing what in a horror film you want to say. Was I a bit disappointed by the school spirit baton being used for every kill? Yes. Because I would have liked to have seen more kills with some other stuff, like an axe and stuff. Because that's what a firefight would have. But overall, I like the acting. I like the characters. I thought the script was not fantastic, but I thought it did the job. And I enjoyed the gloominess of it, like the dark corridors. And I enjoyed when people were being chased. So many times I was watching a kill happen, and I was like, this reminds me of this scene. This reminds me of that scene in other movies. Like, there's this bit where Nora, she jumps off the back of the truck that they're having sex on. And as soon as she jumps off, she hurts her ankle. And you're just like, yeah, typical. This is what's going to happen. And it gets her. The bloke gets her. He jumps on the truck, gets her right in the eye. And I was like, woohoo. But there's nothing telling you who the killer is before the end of the film. There isn't. As far as I could see, there was nothing. You know, the headmaster is looking at girls on the screen the whole time, and then he hides it when his wife walks in. You're like, this guy's a pervert. But like someone else said, this is a very stereotypical film. You've got the jock, you've got the genius, you've got the nerd, you've got the slut, you've got the pregnancy. Yeah, that's right. One of the characters is pregnant, and you've got the policeman, and you've got the cool guy. I guess that's the jock. But you see what I mean? It's very stereotypical. But the film's good because it has everything I like in a movie. And I'm sure a lot of people, if they give it a chance, they'll like the movie too. So, Bloody Homecoming isn't a bad movie. It's not a fantastic movie. It's in the middle. If you're open to it, you'll enjoy it. If you want to look at all the faults in the movie, you'll hate it. Do I recommend it to everybody? No. If you're a full-on horror fan, I recommend giving it a go. Because I would. If I was, well, I am. So I did give it a go, didn't I? So I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because even though it wasn't perfect, even though there was a lot of flaws with it in a lot of ways, I enjoyed it and I accepted it for what it was. A low budget horror movie with a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. As always, if you haven't, please subscribe. And if you have subscribed, thank you. And have a lovely day. Take care, guys.